So the topic of today's video is that there is nothing to fear. And I'm going to explain to you why that's the case in these next few minutes. First thing I want to say with any of these videos or anything that I say, realize that anything that I say that resonates with you, if it resonates with you, that these things are already within you. These are truths that you already know. And when I say something, it's literally just translating or kind of opening up to a truth that you already know inside of your heart or inside of your mind, inside of your soul, whatever you want to call it. And so anything that I say that doesn't resonate, you don't take it. So I'm not here to ever tell people how to live or tell people what I know the truth is. All I can do is speak from personal experience and say what I have learned and try and share lessons with other people. That's all I'm here trying to do. So, as I said, there's nothing to fear. And you might be thinking, how is that the case? How there's nothing to fear? Like, fear nothing? I don't fear, don't feel failure, don't fear losing people, don't fear loss, don't fear rejection, don't fear shame, don't fear guilt, don't fear pain, like none of it, fear nothing. And I'm telling you with certainty, absolute certainty, there's no reason to fear. There's no reason to fear any of that. There's no reason to fear anything in life. And what led me to that conclusion? So I was doing a deep meditation the other day, and I highly recommend, I think in our modern world, anyone and everybody to take more time to slow down, to carve time out of our lives, to try and meditate, to try and sit with our minds, to try and see what our thoughts are, what our thoughts are saying, what are these subconscious things that are being said, or subconscious beliefs maybe that we're holding on to that might be holding us back or restricting us or causing us to live in fear, or causing us to live less authentically, or to live in a place of restriction rather than freedom and being our full selves. So meditating on this thought of fear. When I was meditating the other day, I was sitting and just trying to sit with my emotions, sit with my feelings. When I really tapped into my body and tapped into my mind, this feeling of fear came up. And I started exploring it and trying to understand, what is this fear? What's this fear that's been with me for a long time? This fear I've been struggling with for a long time, battled, I guess you could say, for a long time. And it's a reoccurring theme of fear, specifically of the unknown. And everybody has their own fears. Everybody has their big things that they're most concerned about, whether it's embarrassment or whether it's rejection or whether it's failure. And a big one for me is the unknown and not having certainty about what's going to happen tomorrow or what's going to happen in the coming weeks, what's going to happen in a few months, not only just with myself or with relationships, but just the world, our country, the world. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's always been a lot of uncertainty. And so sitting with myself and meditating, I was sitting with this feeling of fear, the unknown. I sat with that a long time, and then I kind of leaned into it even more. And I said, what's the biggest fear? What's the core fear of the unknown? What's the biggest unknown that you can think of? And it was death. The fear of death, the fear of dying, not knowing what's on the other side of dying, or not knowing, never being through the experience of death, never knowing what it's going to feel like or how it's going to be or what's going to happen during it or what's going to happen after. And there's just, like many people, a lot of people fear death. It's a pretty common human fear. So I was sitting and meditating on that fear and sitting with that feeling for a long time. And it felt very negative. It felt very restricting. It felt very enslaving almost, or, like you're bound in chains, that you're just heavy with that fear of death. And after sitting with that a long time, I started to kind of come out of that and started to flip to the opposite, and opposite feelings of happiness and freedom and bliss and release, and kind of sitting on what feelings would I want to feel, or what feelings would I have to feel in order to get over this fear of the unknown, and this biggest fear, biggest unknown, which is death and what happens after death. And I knew, something within me started speaking to me and saying, it's understanding. If you had understanding and peace, and then lastly, courage. Courage was the last word that kind of came up to me. Those three words, understanding, peace, and courage. Those were the three. And that if I had the courage to face the unknown, I had the courage to face death, the ultimate unknown, that there's deeper understanding and there's deeper peace that can come from that. And then what that led into, slowly led into, is more and more of those feelings of bliss that I was talking about, more feelings of happiness, more feelings of calm, more peace. And again, this inner voice was basically speaking to me. And out of all those words and my thoughts and the feelings, that I was feeling, it started to tell me that there's nothing to fear. That's what it was saying to me. It was saying there's no need to fear. There's no need, there's no reason, there is nothing to fear. And I was speaking with it in my mind, in this connection that was going on, and asking it, how is that the case? How is there nothing to fear, even death? Like, not to fear death? Like, in that moment, I felt that what my inner voice was saying was true, that there is truth there. There is nothing to fear. But I was trying to figure out how, intellectually, me as a human living in my life, how is that possible? How could I not fear anything? How could I not even fear death? How is that even a possibility? And as I was speaking to it, it basically showed me, didn't speak to me, but kind of showed me through experience or the feelings that I had, that this deeper understanding. And that deeper understanding was that a lot of us, we conceive our lives as when we are born, we become alive and we enter into this world, and then death is like this finality, right? That you die and then your life is over and that's it. And we create this, it's this very human way of creating these kind of segments of life, or cutting off certain periods and acting like they're separate, when in reality, the truth is that it's all part of the same spectrum, that everything is one. Everything, everyone, it's all part of the same oneness. It's all part of the same wholeness, what I would call God, the God within each person, each living thing, and the God without, meaning, the God that surrounds us, in people, in, plants and animals and life, and just around this planet and around the universe. And it was this realization that those cutoffs of birth and death, that they're just human made, that they're not real, that they're human constructed. And the deeper understanding was realizing that it's just a thread. It's a thread, and it's the same thread, and we come in and we go out from our conceptions as a human, but in reality, it's all part of the same thing. It's all part of the same soup, it's all part of the same thread, it's all part of the same oneness. And that this idea of birth and death, and the way we segment off life, and the way we view our spirits, and the way we view God, and the way we just view life in general, it's very restricting, and it's not really the truth. The real truth is that it's all part of one flow. It's all just one river, and that there is not really an end. There's not really a beginning either. So that these things are illusions. These things are illusory. So sitting with that, it just alleviated this fear, right? This fear of the unknown, this fear of death. I felt this incredible amount of understanding, this incredible amount of peace, and it gave me the courage, right? I didn't need to really even seek the courage. I didn't need to force the courage. The courage was just a byproduct of this understanding, of this peace, and understanding that there is no reason to fear, that there was never a reason to fear anything in this life, really. There was never any reason to fear death, and that it's all just part of experience. It's all just part of existence. It's all just part of the same oneness and the same wholeness. And so I encourage you that if you're dealing with any fears, of course, shooting a video, an ambulance goes off, the universe, right? This is just the universe acting and doing its thing. Perfect timing, right? So what can you do? But I encourage you that everybody has fears. It's a human condition. Like I said before, fear of embarrassment, fear of failure, fear of shame, fear of death, fear of the unknown. And these fears and these thoughts just go in our mind all the time, and they go unchallenged. They go unobserved. They go, there isn't the introspection or the time that we take that we really should have in order to challenge these core beliefs and these core thoughts about life and about ourselves that really do cause us harm and cause us suffering and hold us back and prevent us from being these infinite beings that we truly are, and living life to the best we can, expressing ourselves as I'm expressing myself to you, and I hope that you express yourself to others. And so, like I said at the beginning of this video, for that reason, if you sit with any of your other fears and you really sat and meditated and sat with them as I have sat, and as the same, you went through the same processes and you challenged them and you got down to the root of it and you really connected with your spirit, connected with God in that way, in that meditation, I wholeheartedly believe that everyone will come to the same conclusion about all of their fears. And so I say to you with promise and with certainty that I felt it, I've seen it, I've understood it, and there is no reason to fear. You have nothing to fear. And you are a part of this infinity. You are a piece of God. You have God within you. You have spirit within you. And it is beautiful. It is powerful. It is timeless. You are timeless. You are not just this time that you've been born and that you die. Your energy, your spirit, your soul, it is timeless because it's a part of this whole oneness that will always exist. It has always existed. It is existing now, and it will exist after our perceived lives are over and we are done and gone from this planet. So there's no reason to fear. and there are many more videos coming, and I'm going to be talking about my life. I'm going to be talking about experiences. I just want to help people. I want to help the world. I want to relieve suffering. I want to alleviate suffering. That's one of my number one goals. And I think that starts with individually us looking at ourselves, meditating, questioning things, just like this video was about questioning our fears, our core fears, and bettering ourselves individually. And I think that will ripple out. And the more love we feel, the more acceptance we feel, the more truth that we find in these things, it'll ripple out to others around us. And that will infect other people, and that will build into cities, that will, grow into states, that will grow into the country, and that will eventually change the world. I do believe it all starts from within. That's not just a cliche. It's not just a saying. From my experiences and the troubles I've been through and the things I've learned and the hardships I've gone through, and just these lessons and insights that I've had, especially over the past year or two, deeper insights about myself and about existence, I find that to be true, and I really do think that is the case. And I believe it's going to happen. I think it's inevitable. I think it's just a matter of timing and a matter of getting more and more people on that wavelength to see the truths that are out there and the truths that are within us. So it starts with us, and we're going to build from there. So I hope you find this video helpful. I hope it's maybe alleviated some of your fears. If not, I would recommend doing what I've said, sitting more, meditating, really questioning those fears, challenging those things. The birds are singing to me. The birds are talking right behind me. They flew right behind me and are talking. So another sign from the universe, right? Hopefully a positive, good sign. At least I think so. So yeah, I hope you find this video useful. There'll be many more coming out, and I want to help people and I want to help the world. And I hope over time it builds into a movement, and it builds into people seeing life differently and appreciating things differently, and that we can change ourselves first, and then hopefully help guide others, and then guide the world to a better place, a more peaceful place, and a more loving place. I truly do believe that it's possible, and that's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. So yeah, I'll be uploading a lot more videos, so stick around if you want to. And I hope you have a great day. Please take care of yourselves, and love, peace to everybody. And let's start with ourselves, and we can hopefully change the world from there. So peace.